We did get a niner in there. Episode 169. We do have a special guest that is running a little bit late. We will see him hopefully shortly.
Not me.
Sorry for the delay.
It's not me.
No. Cash is here. He's not on cash time. Oh, I forgot when we had our little Zoom call before, I had to let Sarah know what CPT was. She had never heard of it before.
What was that?
CPT.
Who?
Sarah. Is her name Sarah?
Huh? What is CPT?
You don't know what CPT is? Okay, CPT. This is good timing for Derrick to jump on while we're confirming, everything wrong that we should be saying. But we do have our special guest here. We're gonna get started with him in just a second. We already went live. We were like, all right, maybe he'll be here. I like his background.
I love his background. Yeah. That's dope, man. Made me miss my green screen. Oh God. Oh,
I like your background.
Why? You know so what, Derrick?
we got a few
I already
things.
Don't like you.
We've got a few things we're going to talk about on today's episode. Most of all, obviously, Cash is a J6er. Derrick Evans, also a J6er, and he also was, serving in Congress, and he's running again. We'll let him go through that story when we bring him up. We also have some regular stuff in politics and in regular news today, which we talked about beforehand. The Casey, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch the Tucker Carlson episode yet, but with Putin.
Wait,
time out. About that.
Time out. You just went you let me start this thing off, okay? Because
go ahead.
You did it horrible. Hey everybody, how you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful night. Thank you for tuning in with us. If you haven't already, please share this video out so that we can kill the algorithm. Thank you. And then everything else that Russo said.
Well, he served his whole purpose. I think we're good without him now. So there we go.
You know what? That was horrible. Shout out to Derrick Evans for being a J6er. You know what I'm saying? Right. I got to get you one of these shirts, brother.
All right, let's bring him up. Let's go ahead and just start the intros. We'll start the show just like that. No need for a countdown. Let's get the party started because we're going to do today's show in about 45 minutes total. So
I call fake news.
Ladies and gentlemen, Derrick Evans. Derrick, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties getting in here, but I want to say this is actually not a green screen. It's it's actual backdrop thing. It's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
You know what? I'm back to not liking you. See, I liked you, then I didn't like you. Now I liked you again. Now I don't like you again because now I know it's not a green screen. So I'm a hater.
You're a patriot, brother. You can do whatever you want.
I love you, bro. I love you again for saying that. We're good.
So, Derrick, introduce yourself, what you're running for right now, and then we'll talk about J6. And real quick, I'm looking. I don't know why our numbers are terrible right now. Ron, yeah, go ahead and start to like the video. Apparently, you can't put J6 in the description, otherwise we get debunked. So
that is true.
Yeah, Derrick. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm I guess I'm an insurrectionist, but I'll get to that. But I'll tell you, man, I was elected to the West Virginia State House in 2020. I was the first Republican to win my district in over 98 years and won a landslide victory and basically won on the platform of I'm not a politician, I'm a patriot, I'm sick of politicians. And that's how we ended up winning the race. And then went to the Capitol on January 6th with millions of others while every other quote-unquote politician was out there, fundraising and signing petitions and just, tweeting or whatever. I went and stood with the American people that day. It was the most patriotic day of my life. And I think it's important to remember that our rights do not come from the government. Our rights come from God, our creator. And the Constitution was really written for one reason. And it was written to prevent the government from infringing on our natural God-given rights, which is what we're seeing happening right now, especially within the J6 persecution in our country. But I got out of prison in October of 2022. And since that time, as you said, on January 6th, I thought it was a perfect day to do it. I announced that I was not only going to run for re-election in West Virginia, I was now going to run for U.S. Congress because I'm going to take this battle to their front door the same way they brought it to mine. And I'll just quickly say that the joke's on them. I live in one of the reddest districts in the country. We haven't spent a single dollar yet on voter outreach, and we're polling at 45% against this 6-year incumbent Rhino. It's the closest race in the country for someone challenging an incumbent. We've raised over $300,000, over 5,000 donors. We're endorsed by General Flynn, Mike Lindell, Veterans for Trump. We're rocking and rolling over here, man. We're making some noise, not only for myself, but for all my J6 Patriots who are out there still fighting.
I dig it. I dig it. That's some good stuff.
I love it.
So before we get into J6 stuff, just because speaking of rhinos, and I don't know if anything, today was a busy day. I don't know if anything changed. The fact that Mayorkas is not being impeached. I think that once Scalise gets there, I think that'll change. At least that impeachment will start. And Scalise wasn't back today, was he? Okay. So what do you think in terms of this, the rhinos that are around? And I heard you talk on Timcast. You were fantastic on that. That was really fun. That was a really fun episode across the board. Tim was on fire on that one. With what's going on at the border, and this is now, if you're running for U.S. Congress, this is something that you're going to obviously have to be a part of and address. How is it the Republicans can find a way to say that although they disagree with what Mayorkas has done, that that is not against the Constitution and worthy of impeachment?
Well, we just got a bunch of spineless jellyback rhinos representing us in Congress right now. I'll be honest with you, impeachment's getting off too easy. This guy should be shackled in front of a jury right now, facing charges of treason for aiding and abetting the invasion of our country. So I think that impeachment is the compromise. That's he's getting off pretty easy with that. So Republicans are just going to have to grow a backbone, and Republican voters, conservative, America First, MAGA patriots are going to have to hold their elected representatives accountable.
I heard that, brother. Preach.
Wow.
Jellyfish spines.
Tim Pool loved that. When you said that, he's like, can you say that again? Say that one more time.
Yes.
It's true, man. That's all I know how to explain these people.
Cash, give a little bit of your, Derrick, do you know who Cash is at all?
I do. I know who he is. And he's like I said at the very beginning, he's a patriot. And man, if we had, what is there, 435 in the House? If we had 220 people in the House, U.S. Congress, who were January 6th patriots and have that mindset, this country wouldn't be in the shape that it's in right now, because we would be making some serious changes, because we actually have the courage and the backbone to make the changes that are necessary to save our country.
Oh, I got chills. I got chills, bro.
Cash, really quick. Think about this, though, man. That's what I tell people. It's a shame that we even had to go to the Capitol in the first place on January 6th. We went there out of frustration because our elected representatives did not have the courage to do what we elected them to do. We should have never even had to have been there to begin with, because our elected representatives should have been the ones leading the charge. And instead, we had to go there to try to encourage them to grow a backbone and do the correct thing that day.
Yeah, 100% correct. I agree wholeheartedly. You're 100% correct, bro. Straight up.
With this, that's a great segue, because Cash, you and Cash both went in the Capitol. I was there. I didn't go in. And when we look back at it, what?
I'm just kidding.
When we look back at it, hey, Kelly thought about it. We said no. I said no.
You notice she led the decision, not him.
No, I led the decision, because if it was up to her, we would have gone in the building. Just to be very clear,
she said no, and then I followed.
No, I was the one that said no. I said it wrong. I'm sorry. I said it wrong. I wear the pants. No, I don't. Anyways, when we're talking about what happened at the Capitol that day, because you were saying the elected officials should have done it. In retrospect, looking back, in my opinion, I look at it and say we had an opportunity. I think that it was already happening that day, where they were going to start questioning the votes, and they were going to start having Arizona was the first one where what is it called? What is it called when they don't do the vote?
Where they were going to challenge it, you mean? Where they were going to challenge the vote and then go break out and have the
back to the electorates?
Yep. Yes, there it is. That's the word I was looking for. So that was already starting, but and it's amazing. Once that started is when all of a sudden everybody was half let in the building. Do you think without us as a part of the setup and people going in the building, do you think that there would have been a different outcome that day in terms of challenging the electorate?
I don't know, but I'll say this much, and I'm not saying it directly to you, but to people in general who bring that up and try to give these politicians a pass. If you woke up that morning and you said it was the correct thing to do was to challenge the certification, and then a couple people wander into the building and that changed your mind, then you are a very weak person and you should not be running for office and should not be holding office. So for them to try to attempt to use us as an excuse and put this on us, shame on those politicians for doing that. If they had the courage to do it at 8 a.m., they should have had the courage to do it at midnight. I don't care what happened. I don't care if the building would have burnt to the ground. I'd have stood there on a pile of ashes and still said, I'm voting no to certify this election because it's fraudulent.
Big facts. I agree.
I love your sentiment, and I think that I would love to say that I would do the same. I always like to play the hindsight game and the devil's advocate game, and if we look at the video from inside the building, the way that like you see Josh Hawley sprinting across the thing and everybody's like, look at this pansy. They were telling them something wrong. And that's why I think it was all part of the setup. They were telling them that they're in danger. There's armed insurrectionists. They're trying to take over government, which was a blatant lie, like a blatant lie. Go ahead, Cash.
We gotta be. I mean, I was in DC DOC, and I love my brothers. All right, I do. I love my brothers, but we've seen Discovery. All right, we've seen Discovery that ain't nobody else seen, and I understand their worries. I'm just gonna leave that there. I understand their worries because there were some people there that weren't there for the right reasons, and that were there to cause chaos. That were not MAGA. All right, these people that were there were something else that started with aunt. All right, I'm just gonna leave that there, and. I mean, even though they weren't with the left, they were the exact same thing for the right, and they were there for the wrong reason. So for their worries was well founded. After you see the Discovery, I'm sure it'll all come out, but you know,
I don't think it'll all come out.
It wasn't people
what
like
about
me.
This,
it wasn't people like
file
Derrick.
line comment, because I know Derek's talked about, like, Derek's video was very organized. Like, he was fist pounding the cops but I remember, Cash, you told me a slightly different story, that there was some parts that were a little bit chaotic.
Well, you got to remember, Derrick, I bet you went on the east side, didn't you?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Exactly.
There's a totally different experience depending on where you was at and what time you was there. Yeah.
The east side was peaceful, and the cops were letting everybody in, fist bumping. They were walking with them. Everything was fine. Whereas on the west side, they were hitting us with pepper balls, throwing concussion grenades, and beating the hell out of people. So
isn't that like normal cities, east side versus the west side? Isn't that how it's handled also there?
They're funny.
Did you guys have gang symbols in the DOC and for the J6ers? Like, were you east side? Were you west side?
Baby.
No, for real though, Cash brings up a really good point. If there's one thing I could get people who maybe weren't there or didn't go through this experience to understand about January 6th is, depending on what side of the building you're on, even what corner and what time you were there, you would have had a totally different experience than someone else, either at the same location or a different time. Like, it was totally different. And I'll say this, they could have done so many things. We talk about the National Guard coming in, but I mean, honestly, if they just would have put signs up, like legit signs that says, I didn't realize I'd already served my prison time and already came home before I realized that I officially broke the law according to them when I crossed over where the bicycle racks had been. I didn't know that was a restricted
You didn't even know they were there
either.
Yeah,
none of us
there
did.
had been signs up from the beginning though, because most of us there are law-abiding citizens that said, this is a restricted area. You're going to go to prison for crossing this barrier. January 6th never would have happened. And then, Cash, did you get like an alert on your phone at one point? I'm guessing
I had already left when I got the alert because, look, so with me, right, when I went in, everything was cool at first, right? I'm walking in, I'm taking videos. I'm like, I'm in the Capitol. This is amazing. It's so beautiful. I love this place. And then when I get in there where the statues were, in the rotunda, and then that's where I started seeing some crazy stuff. I seen a guy swinging at the chandelier. I seen another guy stealing a painting off the wall. And I'm like, I got mad. And I started yelling. I'm like, what are you doing? This is our house. We don't disrespect our own house. What are y'all doing? We're not Antifa. We're not BLM. And that's when I started yelling at him. And after all of that stuff happened, I'm like, okay, it is time for me to get the hell up out of here because this is a crime. And I understood it then. So when I go to leave, I see SWAT running in. I look at the cop. I say, excuse me. I say, sir, I'm just trying to get up out of here. I just want to go. So he said, all right, cool, go ahead. So they let me go out the window. So, because the door was barricaded, there's people trying to break through the door that they let me walk in. All right, the door that I walked in, they barricaded and it was police in there and it was SWAT running in. So I get out, and once I'm getting out, I'm telling everybody, hey, might want to turn back around. I wouldn't go in there. It's a bunch of SWAT. And me being where I'm from, I know that when SWAT's there, somebody's going to get their ass whooped. So I'm out of here. So I start telling people to leave, and they're like, yo, we're going in. I'm like, all right, well, that's your choice. You know what I'm saying? This is America, but I don't recommend it. So then I got the alert as I'm leaving, and I'm trying to find Rusi over here. And I'm like, it's time to go. It got crazy in there. And then I got the alert, and I'm like, oh, shit, citywide curfew. Then I see, Trump, and then the news. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to prison.
Well, that's kind of how I felt after I started seeing the news, and I see myself everywhere as well. I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. But there's a couple of things to unpack there that Cash described it perfectly. We have to accept the reality that on January 6th, there were some bad people who were there to do bad things. There were some good people who got caught up in the moment and did bad/dumb things. But by and large, it was mainly just patriots who were there protesting. I would argue that people like Cash, myself, and others who were there did more to control the crowd than the police did. I mean, you heard Cash telling people, don't do this, don't do that. We were policing ourselves, and we did more, and then we get in trouble, and we were doing more to control the crowd than the police. But back to the alert, I've often wondered, man, like, they had that capability, obviously, taking over our cell phones and putting out that emergency alert. Why did they not do that at noon and say, hey, anybody who enters this building, you're going to be facing felony charges? Yeah, it never would have happened.
That goes back to what I said before, which is they needed people to go in that building so they could use it for multiple reasons that day, to make sure they weren't decertifying. That's what I was looking for. To make sure they weren't decertifying the election, to make sure this is political fodder for the next 3 election cycles. And it was, to me, in retrospect, because when Cash and I got back to the hotel, we were like, that was the greatest day. That was so much. It was the most patriotic. And to us, it was this amazing experience until we saw on television and we go, that's not good. And I think that it was a massive piece. So it's a simple answer. Why did they not send out the alert earlier? Why did they not make sure that things were properly secured? It was so that this can be used to this day to pretty much say, oh, Derrick Evans, you might have the best idea of how to help the country as serving for Congress, and they are going to they're going to campaign against it based on you being there on a day that you were doing nothing wrong, and 99.8% of us were doing nothing wrong. That's why.
How much time did they give you, Derrick?
I mean, I'm so lucky compared to so many others, man. I was one of the first people arrested. I was arrested January 8th, 2 days after January 6th. Yeah. So I had like an 18-month legal battle through that whole thing, but I ended up doing 3 months in federal prison up in Michigan. And then 8 days of that, I don't know if you had to do any solitary. I did 8 days of solitary for refusing the vaccine when I was there. And so it's just crazy.
Did I? Solitary? I thought that's what prison was going to be.
Yeah, I know, right?
It was horrible.
He was in the actual gulag, Derrick.
You got lucky, man. You got lucky, bro.
I know. That's what I tell people. Like, so I travel the country, man, sharing my story, and people are like, they can't believe it because the media's never covered any of this stuff. And I always tell them, I'm like, listen, what you just heard is terrible. Like, for sure, don't get me wrong, but it's only scratching the surface on what my fellow J6 Patriots have went through and are still going through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being in the DC Gulag and the Northern Neck Regional Jail were the 2 worst locations that a January 6th political prisoner could have been held. And
100%.
People are really forgetting how hard it was early on. And I'll tell you, even from a mental standpoint, man, it was hard for me at home sometimes. And I would hear news of what my fellow J6ers are going through in the Gulag. And I'm like, I felt guilty. I'm like, why do I get to be home? And it was really just the luck of the draw of where you were arraigned at. I live in a rural conservative area, and the federal magistrate was more conservative.
That's the strange part about it, bro, is that the people that were arraigned in their own state got sent to DC DOC. So you got lucky because they flew people from Texas. They flew people from California. They made them come back to DC and they locked us in there. I thought that would be all right.
I was arrested so soon, Cash. They didn't have a plan yet into what they were doing with everybody. And so had they waited a few weeks, I probably would have been thrown in there. But I was arrested on January 8th. They didn't even know what they're doing yet. And so they let me out. And then the media were like, oh my God, this guy's home, and freaking out.
I found a common denominator. So the people that ended up being locked up over there in DC, right? Their charges was fucking crazy. All right. And a lot of them had either made some fucked up threats, had stole something, or had an act of violence that ended up there. I was the only one that was in there besides like maybe a couple people that didn't have an act of violence, but they had made threats. So I found it to be strange that I ended up there with all of them. And I figured out what it was. God had a purpose for me being there and to bring light to a lot of the situation.
Were you a veteran?
I'm sorry?
Were you a veteran?
No, sir. I didn't have that honor.
No,
He's a veteran of the streets.
Well, the reason I asked that, though, I really feel that they treated our veterans and have treated our veterans worse than the rest of us throughout the January 6th process. It's mind-blowing that almost using that as a punishment against our veterans who were at January 6th. They get treated much harsher than the rest of us.
I gotta link you up with Scott Fairland, bro. Shout out to my man Scott. Man, we should have invited him on. We got to do one with Scott, so you guys can get to know Scott, man, because he's got a story too. He's the gym owner that wouldn't shut down during COVID, so we got to have him on.
Not Ian Smith, but the other one.
Yeah, the other one. But yeah, man, it was an experience for sure.
Crazy, man.
So there's a couple things. So yeah, Unc brought up Ray Epps.
Uncle Wayne, that's my uncle. Everybody.
That's cool.
So we've talked about Ray on a lot of different shows. What's your thoughts on Ray Epps, Derrick? No, I mean, again, knowing a little bit of way politics works, you've got to defund the FBI shirt. So
allegedly, if you're going to make any claims so we don't get blocked on here.
Exactly. Well, I always said it anyways because we don't know. I mean, that's the biggest thing is that's why, I mean, myself and as far as I know, everybody else in the January 6th community, we want the footage released to the public, and because we want the truth about that day. It's ruined our lives and the lives of so many others. We just want the truth, whatever that truth is. Now, my opinion, I believe that Ray Epps is allegedly a Fed until proven otherwise. I mean, just knowing what I know. I mean, if you look at our charging documents for myself and so many others, Cash was talking about it earlier, a lot of the guys in there had made threats. In our charging documents, really, most of us were charged and arrested and thrown in prison for things we said either leading up to January 6th or on January 6th, more so than the actions that we took that day. And then here you have a guy on film who's telling people to go storm the Capitol and to do all these things, and he's not being held accountable for the words that he said, but I'm being held accountable for having a hashtag stop the steal and sharing a meme on social media. It just doesn't add up.
Other people got charged with a leadership role because they said less than what he said. He literally whispered into my man Ryan Sampson's ear, hey, don't move the barricades until I give my order. And people followed him because they seen him as like a Trump type figure. You know what I'm saying? He was there. He's older. He served in the military, I guess, allegedly. He served in the military, and they looked at him as somebody. He was dressed in fatigues, like as if he had authority. So people listened to him. You know what I mean? But he wasn't held accountable for any of that.
I tell people, I don't know. And there's two distinctions we got to make here too. Like, I don't know if he was there as a paid federal government and person provocateur. I don't know that. Or if he turned into like an informant afterwards and they were able to get information. I don't know, but I think one of those two things is true. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it as a fact, but those are my opinions and thoughts after everything I've went through and seen what others have went through as well.
Well, then there's clear evidence of him communicating with people before they go and charging at officers or taking down barriers and causing
He gave the command to take the barriers down.
And so how are they giving him free reign when he's trying to say, I tried to calm people down? Well, their action right after you whispering in their ear says differently.
Did you guys see the video that I just put out today?
No, what'd you put out, Derrick?
Oh, dude, there's a video of a guy climbs up the scaffolding on the West Terrace. It's on my Twitter and True Social and places, and pulls out a pistol and fires 2 shots into the air. This is 3 years. And the reason I bring it up, and then he climbs right back down the scaffolding. And so I don't know who this guy is. I don't know anything about him. But the fact that the media and the government, I mean, people with walking sticks, they're like, oh, that's a weapon. They made this big deal out of everybody having weapons. And we have January 6th prisoners who got charged for having a gun in their holster because they didn't know it was illegal to have it in D.C., just had it on them, never even pulled it out and did anything with it. But yet here's this guy. The media has never once stumbled upon this footage, has never reported on it. The government has never charged this guy. He's never any of those things. And it's a clear video I posted on there, and I just want answers as to, and if he is, I'm going to say this, if he is a Trump supporter who did that, he should still be held accountable. We were not there to be pulling guns out and shooting guns into the air.
Yeah, because it was not an armed insurrection for what we know. So let's go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yes, there it is. The guy in the red.
What the fuck? Wow. So again, why when people say that they did not understand why Congress was in fear, that's the reason why. People like him, you know what I'm saying? That he's not the only one. There were people there, and they say there were no guns there that day. No, there were. You know what I'm saying? And as messed up as it is, like, look, you know, everybody out here that listens to me knows me. I don't like corruption. I do not like corruption, and I stand against that shit. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. I don't like corruption. All right. And that was a corrupt ass dude, man. There's no reason for you to pull a gun and shoot while we're there supposed to be peacefully and patriotically protesting, and then you shoot it in the air. Like, you're sending a message
above him on the scaffolding. He's lucky to shoot those guys above him. It's so negligent.
Exactly. That's exactly my point, bro. It's like there were some messed up people there that day. So when people downplay J6, I don't agree with the downplay. When people hype it up and make it more than what it was, I don't agree with that either. It's right there. The truth is right there in the middle. And there were a lot more patriotic people there that were not there for that get caught up in some BS. But there were some people that were there that day that really were scary. You know what I'm saying? They were some scary individuals.
I mean, let's look at this. First off,
he didn't get no problem. Look at he's not.
You have to ask yourself who this person is, and like now that you brought this, you're bringing this to light, and you're showing this, what he's dressed as, who he is, and how you. The big question is, why have we not heard about this yet? Yes. And it's very simple, because this guy was probably never arrested, and why was he never allegedly? In my mind, just seeing this, if we don't know who this person is and why this footage is, this would be perfect political fodder for the left to see a man shooting a gun during the quote unquote insurrection. So why would it have not been played yet? Probably because if you were to, again, assuming if you're to track this guy down and figure out who it is, it's not going to be the person they're expecting. That's my opinion. What would be your opinion on that, Derrick?
I have the same exact opinion. And what's fascinating, man, is when he actually fires the gun off. You can go to j6footage.org. We have a whole video up there, like the full thing. But he climbs right back down immediately after, which to me stood out because all the other protesters are climbing up, staying on the scaffolding, waving flags and everything. This guy climbs up halfway, as you saw, pulls his gun out, boom, boom, puts it back in, and then climbs back down and leaves. And so I just think the whole thing is weird. I'm not making, I know a lot of people, some people are mad at me saying, oh, you shouldn't have released that. It makes us look bad. No, I want the truth. I don't care what the truth is. Right. I know my truth. I know what I did that day. I know what I saw that day. Facts. But I want the facts. I want the truth of this day out there, whatever that may be. And if he is an informant of some sort or if paid provocateur, it needs to be exposed. If he's a Trump supporter who did that and he just randomly did it, he needs to be held accountable because guess what? It was things like that and actions such as that allowed the media to create this false narrative of insurrection and then the government to be weaponized against people like myself and Cash and so many others.
Yeah.
Well, let's be clear. Right. If that was a Trump supporter, we would have known already.
I would agree with you 100%. I do. And once again, all this footage everywhere, the media has hopped all this up. Nobody has ever. You're trying to tell me that the government doesn't have footage of this guy doing that? Like, I just have to know that they do until proven otherwise.
I'm telling you, brother. I'm with you, man. Derrick, I got to get your information, bro. We got to stay in contact. You my brother, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Absolutely. And it's amazing how there is a connection, man, with people who were even just there, not just people who were arrested. When I'm meeting somebody and they're like, I was there that day. Because like I said, I travel over the country, man, and people come up to me, and it's sad. It is sad that we live in the government is supposed to fear the people. And every time I go and speak somewhere, and sometimes big crowds, sometimes small crowds, doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I just like to share the truth. I have people come up to me afterwards, and there was a lady in Florida. I spoke at a big event there on January 6th, and she came up to me afterwards. She was crying. She was so fearful. She said, I was there. I didn't go in the building. I didn't even go on the steps, but I live in fear every single day that they're going to knock on my door. They're going to knock my door down and arrest me. Like, this is crazy. And then think about that. They're arresting people who were just out there.
Yeah.
Didn't even go in the building, but this guy pulls out a gun and shoots it in the air, and he's not charged with anything. It just doesn't add up.
Man, and this is the thing too, right? The only time that the government should fear the people is when they become tyrannical. The government, all these public officials are supposed to be champions of the people. And that's all we want. When you become an elected official, you're supposed to be a champion of the people. We're supposed to admire you and thank you for the job that you're doing for listening to us and getting things done for us. Absolutely. But instead, it's become this big money grab where these people just want to be elected so they can get a paycheck. And now it's like a celebrity status. You become a politician and you become a celebrity. You get all this notoriety. So it's become
and
less
you get
about
good
the
stock
people.
tips.
I was just going to say, you become a millionaire easily.
Well, you know what they tell you when you first get elected? No joke. They will come to you and say, your number one job is to get reelected. And if you really think about that, okay, now when you start paying attention to what our politicians are doing, it starts making sense. Like their big job and their main focus is getting reelected. The scary thing is they've been convinced that if they don't get reelected, there's going to be somebody else in there who's going to be worse than them. And so I think that a lot of the things that they do is all about not because it's the constitutional thing to do or the correct thing to do. It's because it's going to help improve their chances of getting reelected. And that's a sad place to be.
Facts. Love you too.
When it comes to, and this is kind of our, let's just try to wrap up the J6 conversation. You brought it up briefly. The people that right now are still being arrested. There was a Hollywood actor, black guy, I think, that was arrested about a month and a half ago. I was questioned by the FBI. I never went in.
American.
What's that?
Darker skinned American.
There's all these different things that we're still at risk for people like me to still maybe possibly, like, I'm going to watch everything I say still to this day because they're still coming after it. How is it that they're getting away with still going after all of these?
This administration. That's an easy answer. The
It's
DOJ has been
Cass.
weaponized to come against anybody that has a different political ideology or stands up for their rights as an American. That's why.
Yeah, but I think, and I agree with you 100%, but we also have to, as Republicans, own this right now. Republicans have control of Congress, which is where all the funding originates, and we're continuing to fund this weaponized DOJ, the weaponized FBI, to continue going after not just Trump supporters, but literally the January 6th arrest of President Trump. That was after Republicans controlled Congress, and when they took over, the DOJ had earmarked like $200 million. It was a lot, millions of dollars earmarked to continue persecuting and investigating January 6th. Congress could have removed that funding. They never would have had the funding to go after President Trump and everybody who's been arrested since that time. So, the administration, this illegitimate Biden regime, is weaponized against American citizens, but
allegedly
Republicans are complicit at this point.
So we don't get blocked. Allegedly illegitimate.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh no, you can say it now. It's actually allowed to be. Casey knows this. You're allowed to say it. Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah. You're allowed to say it now because everything's gone. But the FBI is still saying they're going to keep pursuing, and Joe Biden keeps saying it. He's going to keep pursuing the J6ers, which is absolutely absurd. Yeah. And Derrick, you're right. They did earmark in a bill, and I want to say, what was it? It was one of the $1 trillion bills that we snuck in. $200 million. We're going to be like, we're going to keep arresting these people. What kind of government does that? Is that a government of the free people?
No, this is a government of their pockets. That's what this is.
Hey, sorry, Jennifer, PM the footage. Here's the easiest thing, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put Derrick up. You can read it a little better. It's Derrick Evans for WV. So at Derrick Evans for WV, that's on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So
I love West Virginia, by the way, Derrick. That's from all my family on my mom's side is from West Virginia. My Uncle Wayne, he's in West Virginia right now. That's God's country.
Awesome. I love it. That's awesome, man. But we also have to remember too, like this started with January 6th in terms of the weaponization of government. It started with the January 6th prisoners. And then when they saw the Republicans are not going to do anything about it, conservative media is not going to do anything about it, they can get away with it. They've now expanded this. They're now arresting and raiding the homes of parents who speak out at school board meetings and guys who make memes on social media, pro-life activists. This entire government is 100% weaponized against conservatives right now. Congressman Jim Jordan put out a tweet a couple weeks ago that if you shopped at Dick's, I believe it was, or one of those sporting goods, then or Bass Pro, whatever, one of them, then you were put on a list. And guess what? Also in that, if you used your credit card or debit card and you purchased a Bible, this government puts you on a list and they are surveilling you and using the Patriot Act against you the same way they have against myself and so many others. I've been on the Quad S list. I'm sure Cash and every other J6er has as well if they've flown. But this is what our government is doing right now to conservatives because they're allowed to get away with it.
So we're actually not on that list, interestingly enough, because we drove in. So that's why. So the people
I drove in too.
And you're on that list?
I don't know if we're not. I don't know if
I was
not.
told I wasn't.
There's some sketchy shit that happened when I flew. I didn't talk about, but yeah, I feel like I was being watched. Maybe
you would know. So if you're on the Quad S list, you can't check in online. You have to check in person. They actually at the airline's desk, they spend about 15 minutes calling some number, asking you stupid questions. That's before you even get to TSA. You get to TSA. Dude, they bring out machines. They were like 9 agents waiting on me at on my last flight, at my connecting flight in Charlotte. They take all your items out of your bag, swab everything, swab the inside of your bag, outside your bag, swab every individual item. Then
you are on that list.
I thought that was normal. You know, this is the thing though. When I went through the little body scanner thing, they made me actually get naked because they said I had a weapon. And when I got naked, they seen the weapon, and it wasn't actually a gun.
I knew exactly where that was going.
Well, you can look in your top left and your bottom right of your boarding pass, and there'll be 4 S's. It'll be SSSS.
Yeah, I don't have that. It's ironic that it's 4 S's or the SS. It'd be better if it was 2 for their cases.
Yeah.
God, there was somebody had a comment. I don't remember what it was. I drew a blank. But the one thing I want to talk about is term limits. Oh, real quick. When it comes to the talking about the stolen election, that was now released, and we're allowed to say that because they're prepping just in case they lose for the 2024 stuff so that they can say it. That's essentially why YouTube no longer, they released this about 6 months ago. They go, you can now talk about a stolen election. It's fine. Like it's like, you can't tell me you're not prepping for stuff like that. So my question is actually more about, like you said, the election side. You've got Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer. You had Pelosi for all those years, Maxine Waters. How is it these people that if you go all over the country, nobody likes them, including in their own district? How do we actually get away from the thought process that all of these local elections have to be fixed? There is no way that these people are continuing to win when they're disliked by everyone. So what are your thoughts on that, Derek? What's that, Cash?
You know how they continue to win. I'm just gonna shut up.
It's money, though. A lot of it's money, man. It's so hard as someone who's if you're not independently wealthy, and you're talking about a Senate race. To challenge Mitch McConnell, you would need probably $150 million. Like, that's not even a joke. I mean, you'd probably need $150 million. I mean, what normal person has it? I've raised over $300,000.
Votes. I've always wondered this. How does money buy votes? It's advertising. I get it, but still how does it work?
There's so many low information voters, man, who don't take their vote serious. They're there to vote for cousin Jim Bob on the school board. And while they're there, they just, I know Mitch McConnell, he's a Republican. And a lot of them don't vote in the primaries. I mean, so I've been telling everyone that the way we really need to start going about this is we got to start flipping our red districts red. And what I mean by that is there are 20 to 25 states. We'll just say 20 to be safe. It doesn't matter who wins that Republican primary for U.S. Senate. They're going to win the general election. There's about 70 to 80 of these same districts in Congress across the country. It doesn't matter. But we have rhinos wallowing around in those districts right now. And imagine if we had 40 to 50 Rand Pauls in the Senate right now. What a difference that would make. Imagine if we had 80 to 100 Matt Gaetz in the U.S. Congress. What a difference that would make right now. We have the districts to do that. We're just not, as Republicans as a whole, are not taking our primary serious enough. I meet so many people who's like, oh, yeah, I'll vote for you because I only vote for Republicans. I'm like, but do you vote in the primary? Like, it doesn't matter in the general because my race, it doesn't matter. Whoever wins the primary wins my race. And so that is a major issue right now. But, man, it's money. I've raised $300,000, and I'm going to get outspent 10 to 1 probably in a congressional race. I'm not independently wealthy. I don't know any big donors. I don't have a single major donor. This is all just blue collar Americans giving $50, $60 here and there.
See, and I what you're talking about is something that I keep yelling about. I am more of a libertarian than I am. I lean right in a lot of ways, but the Republican Party frustrates me because they don't show up to vote.
Yep.
Like, they have ridiculously low voter turnout. One of the things that I think is phenomenal is Ronna Romney McDaniel stepping down after South Carolina's primary. I think is going to give that party a chance to make a comeback, even though a lot of people keep saying that that's not a problem. We show up. No, you're not showing up. You need to show up in your primaries. You need to show up in your general elections. You need to show up for your presidential elections. Every single one of them is important, and people don't understand that.
And I think that part of it is, and why Trump is so popular and he gets people engaged to go vote is because he really, and I'm not the world's biggest Trump supporter. To be, most people know that. I mean, I like Trump, I do.
No, I won't hold it against you.
But the thing is, he's polarizing to a point where he speaks out and he puts his money where his mouth is. Whereas most Republicans, like the spineless what is it?
Spineless jellyback rhinos.
That one. That they don't instill faith in somebody going, I'm going to go out and vote for them. Like, for example, the 3 dissenters that did not vote for impeachment of Mayorkas, the reason they said it, their biggest thing was this will set a precedent where they could then come after Republicans in the future. Bullshit. They already have. Like, look at the whole Trump presidency and explain like it's
they arrested President Trump.
So if we don't answer back, what the hell?
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, there's a couple things here. It would take a long time, but we got to start taking our local races serious. And the reason I say that, it's really hard to beat a congressman or a governor or a U.S. senator. But guess what? Most of them started off as a city council member or a state legislator and worked their way up. We could have beat those people back then, and they never would have became this powerhouse in the U.S. Senate, which is impossible to get out of there. And then I think her name was Sarah, had commented on here about the lack of fundraising within the Republican Party. I'll tell you guys firsthand, the biggest issue with that, and I know this because I call donors. I hate it, but I call donors all the time. I speak to donors who have historically giving $50,000, $150,000, $250,000. Some people wrote $1 million checks to the Republican Party or Republican candidates in the past. They are not donating anything right now. And the number one response that I get from them, these are their words, that the 2020 election was stolen and that the Republican Party has not done anything to secure that and to fix that and to prevent that from happening in the future. So why should I give my hard-earned money away to something that, I mean, I don't believe it's going to make a difference? That's literally that's major true. Donors. That's what they say.
And even deeper than that, though, you got to understand too. This is an ongoing trend. The Democrats always raise more money, and it's not just because people today don't want to give their money because of what they believe, because of what happened in 2020's election, but it's the fact that the Democrats have some big money donors. That's just the overall truth of it. They're always going to raise more money because they have big money, billionaire donors. You know what I'm saying?
Their biggest donor in 2020 was BLM.
Exactly.
That was funneled directly through Act Blue, 100%. Like there were hundreds of millions of dollars that went to BLM that was funneled through Act Blue, and they got to pick and choose where it went in the country. Just because you're a darker American, Cash, can you answer Troll William Light's comment here?
What is it? Looking at
demographics, the Republicans are almost exclusively white, whereas America is mixed.
That is not true. That is false. I mean, well, I won't say that it's false. Maybe they are mostly white, but it's only because we've been taught to believe a democratic lie that we have to be Democrats if we're not white, because we've been under this assumption that for some reason they believe that the Republican Party is the party of racism, when it's completely opposite. And once people educate themselves, they understand that. And then they switch, which is why you've seen an overwhelming switch of voters, especially now, that used to be Democrat, that are all nationalities, that are now voting Republican.
What happened at the barbershop? What happened at the barbershop?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. When you go out into the neighborhood, see, I'm from the hood, bro. I'm from the streets, and I still go back out there. I go get my haircut. I support the small businesses that are out there. I go do that. That's what I do, right? Before I got locked up and now. So when I go out there, we just made a video. You can go back on my Facebook and you can check it out. I went out there and talked to them directly. I'm talking about one of the brothers is a bona fide hustler, and the other one owns the barbershop. One's Latino, and the other person is a darker skinned American like myself. And both of them overwhelmingly love Trump. And they see what happened under this administration, and they see everything that I warned them about back in 2020 came to be during this administration. So when you say that, I understand. I don't know where you live. I don't know, what your whole thing is, or how you go about talking with people. I talk to people on the ground level. And when I talk to people on the ground level, they love Trump. That's a fallacy to believe that people in the hood or people that are not rich or people that are not white don't vote for Trump or won't vote for the Republican Party, not even just Trump, the Republican Party. People have already started to wake up, and you just don't see it because it's not aired. It's not talked about. They want you to believe that, everybody's Democrat in this country that is not white. That's not true. It's just not true. So
Republicans got to do a better job, though, of outreach to these groups to help that education. I'll tell you the most fascinating thing I learned when I was in prison. So I went in there, people, as quickly found out I'm a politician or whatever. And so it really opened up doors for me to have conversations with people that probably wouldn't have been able to have had I not they not known that about me. And so people were asking me a lot of questions. And so what I would do is I would ask people, hey, are you a Democrat or Republican, during the course of a conversation? And by and large, most of minority groups would identify as Democrat. And either later in that conversation or maybe the next day or something, we'd be talking about it again. I'd say, hey, do you trust the government by any chance? No, man, no. I'd say, hey, do you think that the government should be providing for you? If you like they got out of the way, could you get yours and provide for your family? Man, I'll get mine. Get them out of my life. Leave me alone. I'm like, cool. What are you in here for? And someone would say gun charges. I'm like, man, did you know that Joe Biden wrote the 1994 crime bill that put you in here? And they're like, what? They have no clue. And then after that conversation, like, congratulations, you're not a Democrat, you're a conservative. And they're like, man, they had no clue. And so I wish Republicans would actually do voter outreach. You know how it is. You're in prison. You don't get very much mail or anything. They should start targeting people who are going to be leaving within the next year or two, and actually just do a study and see if they start doing some outreach to these people and educating them with how they would register to vote when they got out.
Well, let me check this out right quick, right?
I know exactly what Cash is going to say.
Mine was completely opposite. When I went there, all the brothers that I talked to all loved Trump, all Republican, and hated the Democratic Party because they studied. Where I was at, a lot of people, they did legal work. So they studied. They studied the law, they studied the Constitution, and they knew about politics heavily. So
not
the
J6 gulag, just to be clear. He's talking about when he went to federal.
I'm talking about in federal prison.
Yeah, where'd you go to federal prison at, Cash?
I was in Lexington and I was in Tucson.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and everybody there loved Trump. Like, I got my first phone shot right when I went there. I got a 297 because my guy was on the phone, and he's a hustler from Louisville, Kentucky. Shout out BT. Right, so I'm on the phone and he's on the phone, and then his girl, he's like, yo, I'm in here with one of the J6s, man, my man Cash. Hey, yo, Cash, jump on, tell her what's up. So I jumped on and said, hey, how you doing? And he was like, his girl was like, you like Trump? Talking to him. And then he was like, hell yeah, I like Trump. When I get out, I'm voting Trump. Trump, what? And then I caught a 297 shot. You know what that is, you know what I'm saying, a phone shot. So I caught the phone shot while I was in there because of that, but I ended up beating the phone shot, by the way, because, it just so happened that where I was at was a super Trump country, and they loved me. They were fans of mine, the COs. So anyway, beyond that though, everybody that I talked to that was educated. Now, when you talk to the people that weren't educated, that were just spending their time in there doing drugs and running up debts and all that, they were like, oh, y'all like Trump. Oh, you a TS, you a Trump supporter. You know what I'm saying? They'll say stuff like that. And it wasn't until I started educating them and having conversations with them that they were like, yo, I didn't know none of that. I talked to him about the 1994 crime bill. I talked to him about the opportunity zones. I talked to him about Trump bringing back the automobile industry. I talked to him about Trump doing the First Step Act, which is what's getting them out early.
Well, that was rolling out when I was in there. The First Step Act was just starting, and it was the talk of the, when I left, Trump was the talk of the prison in a positive way, to your point, because it was the First Step Act was rolling out, and all the Trump supporters, regardless of, where they were from, ethnicity or whatever, they were all like making sure everybody knew this is Trump that did this, that's getting you out like this. And you're right. It definitely had a positive impact because it was the talk of the prison. Yeah, man.
All right, let's we're going to wrap it up real quick. First off, couple bits of housekeeping. Well, I think Casey, go ahead and explain what's going on with Joe Biden real quick.
He literally just walked to the podium right now. He is addressing the nation tonight, and they didn't even give out any notice.
There was no plan of it. So before everybody turns the channel, a lot of you guys know, first off, Cash, go ahead and talk about what we're doing at 7:30 tonight Central Time.
That's at 7:30? Jeez, my God, you're taking all my time. 7:30, if you guys are interested in being a part of an all-American made company that is all American made products right here in America, that is safer, that gets the job done better, and will save you money, please jump on the Zoom. We're talking about it if you would like to be a part of our team, because this is something that I'm taking very, very seriously. I think that all of you would love it. You will definitely be interested in it. This is for all patriots in this country that just want to help out American business.
Man, that's awesome. We need more of that. I hope everybody goes and supports that. I mean,
I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, I'm being dead serious too, man. I mean, that's what we need. We got to get back to buying American products, supporting American businesses. Absolutely.
And I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the comments real quick. Let's see, delete. I don't know why it did the wrong thing. So give me a split second, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put the right thing on. Don't know why it did that. Let's try this again.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why Joe Biden came out to talk right now, because of the Tucker interview. That's exactly.
It might be.
He's already mentioned Trump 5 times.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and turn that on before we do it. But here's the link. The Zoom link is there. We'll be there in 30 minutes if you're interested. The big thing is it's being a part of Cash and I's team, and Casey will be a part of it as well. So if you want to join this whole thing where we're buying American-made products and we're focusing on getting away from the Walmarts and the Targets and the 7th generation and all that crap, that's what it's for. And we all get to work together, and you get to be a part of Cash's team. That's it on that, Derrick.
Before you go, please, before you keep going. To answer your question, Jennifer Warren, yes, we're going to be doing this more. This is about to be my life. This is the way that I'm about to, be making my livelihood and hopefully helping other people make their livelihood. And if you're not trying to make a livelihood on it, then it's just something for you to be able to support American business and have non-toxic chemicals in your home to clean your home and satisfy your life.
There we go. Derrick, how can people, and we'll see you guys on there. Derrick, how can people find you and help support your campaign?
You can find me on pretty much any social media platform out there. I'm pretty big on True Social, and Twitter is probably the place I'm the most active. But you can go to our website. It's evans4wv.com, evans4wv.com. Head over there and check out more about our campaign. Sign up to volunteer if you want. We have volunteers all over the country, phone banking and texting. You can donate if you want. And if nothing else, add us to your prayer list, because this is spiritual warfare. We're dealing with some evil people trying to destroy our country right now. We need all the prayers we can get.
Amen, brother. Amen. Y'all do me a favor and go follow this man. I love him. He's my brother. I'm sure we're going to have him on again, and I'm going to build a great relationship with you.
I think, Cash, you'd be a good speaker at one of his events.
I got you. Yeah. If you ever need me for anything, Derrick, you got
good at this.
I'm going to take a picture so I get all y'all's stuff right here so I can follow you guys, because I don't have them. I'm going to take a picture.
Okay, I thought you were trying to put me on your profile. I was going to
go. No. I can do that too. No worries.
Cash, keep your clothes on. Cash, keep your clothes on.
We're gonna have to look, man. To get the truth out there, the J6 community we have to travel around and share our stories with anybody who wants to have us. Like next month, I'm speaking at this Delaware GOP Lincoln dinner. Like, I'm the keynote speaker. I'm going there to speak, to share this story. And once again, I'll make sure to always tell everybody, this is not my story. It is, but it's really just, it's the J6 story. And what's happened to me is really, I'm the lucky one. And when I tell people that, they're like, you consider yourself lucky? I'm extremely lucky. There's people sitting in prison who didn't even go to DC for 20 years right now. This is crazy.
Let me tell all of you watching right now, don't think that just because you weren't there that you're not. We are all J6 at this point.
Amen.
Because they're coming for every single person that believes the same way that we believe. So we are all J6. If you're an American patriot in this country, you are J6. Understand that.
Period. Last bit of housekeeping, guys. On the bottom, you see it scrolling, awakenotwokestore.com. If you like the gear we have, that's where you go. Casey, well, I've got the Pure Blood hat on. Casey's wearing it, and it's not because I'm racist, because I'm not unV'd. And you've got Casey wearing the Awake Not Woke. We got a politician on the screen. I want to make sure he's not being associated with any, I said I was half Jewish earlier. We're good. So anyways, check that out, awakenotwokestore.com. The water that I always drink, Century H2O. That's scrolling on the bottom. Use Russo10 for 10% off, plain and simple. This is the water filtration system we use. They're also now sponsoring Kelly and her trailer as well. So make sure you check them out. Really good company. That's the only water I drink. It goes underneath the sink, and it'll save you money, and it's way better than any of that Brita crap. That's all we got for you guys. God bless. Have a fantastic rest of the evening. Hopefully see some of you guys on the Zoom. And if you're not able to make it tonight, we'll set up a time for you to watch, or a time to connect. One more time, it's in the bottom. God bless. Have a great evening. We'll catch you later. Derrick, thanks for joining us, my brother.
Thank you, guys, man. Appreciate you.
Ready? Are we doing this? We're not
yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Cash. My bad.
Oh,
no, we didn't end it. We didn't end it.
With him?
We didn't end it. Derrick, when you hear me go woo, you go woo. Cash, go.
Unite. Don't fight. Be a street light, because only you could be the change that you wish to see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, you got to remember to pray, America, because without God, everything falls apart. Woo! Yeah, brother.